Speaker, I rise on behalf of the Greens to speak in the debate on the Coal Mine Subsidence Compensation Amendment Bill. The Greens support this bill, which adopts the 9 recommendations resulting from the statutory review of the Coal Mine Subsidence Compensation Act 2017 in 2022 and 2023. It aims to improve protections and the compensation framework for people whose property or homes have been impacted by coal mining operations. This bill will, among other things, allow renters to make claims for compensation and payments associated with emergencies and increase penalties for a range of offences under the Act, including failure to take action to eliminate or minimise danger or carry out repairs. These are sensible changes and the Greens support them. We also welcome the fact that there's so much talk at the moment about renters in this chamber, and we love the fact that people are starting to recognise that renters also deserve rights and protections, and that the Parliament has woken up to the third of people who rent in New South Wales. I wish to acknowledge, though, that while this bill seeks to hold mining corporations accountable for the damage done to privately owned land and privately occupied land, it does not grapple with the immense damage done to public land, national parks, waterways and air, and the damage to country, to environment, to species, to the planet and to people of New South Wales, and which will continue and continues to decimate New South Wales as a result of the New South Wales government's continued expansion of coal mining across this state. If we are to rely on financial disincentives to reduce the catastrophic impacts of mining operations, the culprits should be held financially accountable not only for the damage done to private land, but also for the destruction of public land, water, and the air that we all depend on. We in this place must take seriously our responsibility to all people in New South Wales, not just current citizens, but also future generations, and implement measures to prevent these practices in the first place. Mining corporations should not have license to continue their climate-destroying practices in this state, and they shouldn't be able to buy their way out of real consequences when they are held accountable for the harm caused. And while this bill seeks to compensate individuals, there is a whole group of people who are most affected by the decisions to continue to approve and expand coal mining in New South Wales that are not going to be compensated under this bill. They are, as we know all too well, young people. The people least responsible for this climate crisis that we are now facing are the ones who will have to face the uncertainty of the future that we have created for them, and they will not be compensated as a result of this bill before us today. They are not the current landowners, they are not future landowners, and at the rate things are going, many may never be. Young people will not benefit from the compensation that is afforded by this bill. They will not be compensated for the environmental damage that has been done and continues to be done to the climate that they will inherit. Nor would any financial compensation suffice to justify the destruction that continues under the watch of the New South Wales Labor and the Labor federal government's addiction to coal. Their futures are held in the balance and vulnerable to corporate greed and government inaction. All around the world, young people are asserting their legal rights to a livable planet. Here in Australia, in the world first in 2021, 8 teenagers and an 87-year-old nun convinced the Federal Court of Australia in Sharma and others v. the Minister for the Environment that the government had a legal duty to children when assessing fossil fuel projects. The judge in that case found, and I quote, "The minister has a duty to take reasonable care to avoid causing personal injury or death to persons who were under 18 years of age arising from emissions of carbon dioxide into the Earth's atmosphere," end quote. While that ruling was ultimately overturned, it left a mark in the history books, a mark made by the young people who took the action. The undeniable argument that the responsibilities of political decision makers include the responsibility to protect future generations from the impacts of climate change. Since that finding, the Vickery Extension project, which was at the centre of that case, is estimated to have added an extra 170 million tonnes of fossil fuel emissions to the atmosphere. Australia's Climate Change Performance Index ranking, which measures our policy response to the climate crisis, remains at only 55th out of 63 countries, and Australia is still the world's second largest exporter of coal. What more do we need to do to take seriously and get governments at a state and federal level to take seriously the climate crisis before us and the impact it will have on future generations? Now, in 2024, this question sits at the highest international court in the world, the International Court of Justice. Vanuatu, in consultation with other nations, brought a resolution to the UN General Assembly to refer the ICJ to consider the obligations of states with respect to climate change. And here I want to acknowledge a local Newtown resident who wrote to our office earlier in the week to share the importance of this resolution and ensure that we raised it in this place. This resolution was spearheaded by a young law student, Cynthia, from the Solomon Islands and president of the Pacific Islands Students Fighting Climate Change group. Young people are leading this movement and the people of Newtown are standing with them. This constituent, Toby, and locals, others across this state and country are calling on Australia to emphatically support this resolution and to make a strong bid to host COP31 in partnership with the Pacific so that the voices and experiences of our region can be centred. It remains to be seen what the ICJ will determine, but it is clear that the question of who wears the impacts of coal mining and who bears the responsibility for them extends much further than the current landowners of properties, individual tenants of the existing properties now that neighbour individual mine sites. It is time that the New South Wales Labor government stepped up and got serious about acting on the climate crisis and stopped new coal mines in New South Wales. Rather than tinkering around the edges with legislation that compensates some people while ignoring the responsibility to protect the people of New South Wales from current and future generations as a result of the devastating impacts of climate change, and simultaneously paving the way for mining corporations to continue to destroy ecosystems across this state. And getting serious means no new coal or gas, and in case Peter Dutton is listening, it means no nuclear either.